Welcome back. Srdan, dobrodošli nazaj vsi. So this is your first film. So let's start with anything that a first film brings to a director.
You know, I studied in the 90s, and in that time Serbia was completely closed. And in that time we did not have any funds for short films in Serbia. So it was impossible to make any short film after the faculty. And in that time, technology, you're young, technology was different, and there were some cameras which were not film cameras, and some, but it was not, it was very rare that people are making in mid of 90s films, short films in Serbia. So I finished faculty, and I was thinking how it can happen for me to make the first film. And in the meantime, I realized that, okay, I can wait for something to be changed in the society, and to have film competition, film funds, and etc. Or I can do something else, you know, in the meantime. And I started to do music videos, and I did many music videos for rock and roll and pop bands in Serbia in that time. And for me it was really important experience, because I told you before that I studied film school in Belgrade, which was very good school, but for my taste in that time a little bit conservative. Now I'm a teacher in that school, and with my colleagues we are trying to make it less conservative and much more, how to say, connected with the moment and with the trends in world cinema, what is important. And yeah, but during that time I told to myself, okay, I want to make a film. That's why I studied film school. And I started to work with my friend and scriptwriter on the script of Absolute 100. And what was the idea? We were completely desperate in that time in Serbia. We were absolutely isolated. We could not travel nowhere. You know, I think that we could not come to Slovenia. It was under the embargo. It was under embargo. It was 95, 96, 97. And okay, I said to myself, okay, what is the main subject I want to make a film about? And I said, it's rage. I'm so angry because of all that, and I'm so angry because when the war started, I was 19, and I had enough time before starting of the war to explore Yugoslavia and to enjoy music, literature, and film of that big country. And we traveled all around Europe, and we lived some other life. And then in few months, everything was cutted and our life was changed. And I said, okay, I want to film about rage and what I would like to do in that moment to take a gun and to change everything around me. And then we started to make that script. And what I told you before, and then I realized that I have to make a film in the neighborhood where I grew up. I grew up in those buildings, and it's my neighborhood, and I lived there during the studies and till the moment when I decided to left my family and to have my life. So I said, let's make a film about two important things in your neighborhood, in the place where you grew up, and about the main emotion you have about this society and about this moment. And then we said, okay, let's combine those two emotions I have, and let's make the script. I always believe that, and I think that I was true, that first film is extremely important. It's extremely important because, how to say, you have only one chance to make a first film. And with the first film, you know nothing. And it's a film without calculations. It's something really what comes deeply from your soul. With every other film, next film, second, third, fourth, even if you don't want to calculate, you calculate. Because your experience with the festivals, with the programmers, with the audience, with the film critics, is pushing you to make some kind of calculations. With the first film, there is no calculations, and you are completely, how to say, innocent. That's why first film is so important. And so important because my professor Goran Marković said that if first film is good, it's always some view to the world which we never saw before. Even if it's a subject we knew. But it's always some perspective, some point of view which we never saw in our life. With the second film, that's the point of view of the man who had innocent point of view in the first film. So, first film is very important, and I would say the most important thing. Second film is also important because two films means some kind of opus. But first is the important because it's for you as a filmmaker, first time that some very wide audience, hopefully all around the world, can see some director from Slovenia, Italy, Croatia, Serbia, some new voice. And that's why it's very important. Good thing with the short films, with the short films, is if you have a chance to make short films and to introduce yourself with the short films, to start to have some audience somewhere with your work, and also to open some doors, maybe even for the financing of your first feature film. So yeah, it's great that we talk about first film because it's something what you are thinking about, I'm sure. And for me, it was the most important, Absolute 100 was the most important moment in my career.
So, if I understood well, you were from the time you thought about the first film till the moment you start to shoot it. It was 5 years in between.
5 years, yeah, 5 years.
Mm-hmm. So it's always. I think it's always the first one. It's always some kind of autobiographical. So we saw two brothers. Which one was yours? I mean, which one did you choose to say something about you, true?
Yeah.
Or you were switching between them?
No, I was not switching. I was completely, how to say, I have 4 films and only not in circles. Always in other 3 films, the main character is kind of my perspective on life, and sometimes or very often or always in those 3 films, Absolut 100, Klopka, and Otac, the actor is in a way some author's alter ego, and I am suffering through him and through his character. Yes, Vuk and the main character in Absolut 100 was absolutely my perspective, and my, in some very strange way, how I see some man who is young in that time in Serbia during Milosevic, and how we can try to change this system. In that moment, I was 27 when I started to shoot the film, 28, and for the last 9 years in that moment, or 10, we were like in prison in Serbia, and I really thought that this time of being us imprisoned would never change without violence. And I put myself into this character. The only difference is that I was never brave to make something like that, and it was my, how to say, dream, artistic wish, not real wish, of course. But it's about a protest, it's about a rage, it's about anger, it's about trying to jump from your own body in that moment. So I always identifying myself with the main character. It is the same in Klopka, it is the same in Otac, maybe in Otac and in Absolut 100 more than in other films. And also, for me, from the unconscious relation in Absolut 100 between young brother and older brother is like relation between father and son.
Right. We will come back to that, but maybe it would be interesting to hear. So, what about the financing? Because probably you went to some producer. How well did you know this producing world? Did you have the ambitions to go to a very strong producers, foreign producers? Did you try that? Or were you disappointed? What did it succeed?
Yeah, it's a funny story, because in that time we had powerful producers, local producers, who were mostly they were actors connected with mafia, because the money came for films only from mafia, and some sponsors, I don't know. And one famous actor wanted to produce this film, and in that time he was 35, approximately. And when I realized that he wants to play the main role, I disappeared, and I told him, okay, sorry, it's not my film. And then son of the most famous actor in Serbia, he was producing my film. And the story was similar. And at the end, I remember that I grew up in this tough part of New Belgrade, and I know some people from mafia world. And I went to my friend from school, who was in that time very high on mafia level in Belgrade, and he gave me some money. I told him, okay, I want to make a film about us, about our childhood, about our world. and it's very much against Milosevic, and he said yes. And he gave me some money, not small money, and he said, okay, I don't want anything, I just want you to make a good film. I said, great. And then we got some sponsors, and it was really small production for that time, and we produced that film by ourselves. And then it was strange time, end of Milosevic era, and everybody knew that his end is close. And then one big company, which was in that time financing Serbian opposition, gave us the last part of the money, which was the most important. So we started to prepare this film almost illegal, without knowing medias and everything. It was a strange story. From nowadays perspective, when I talk to my students, some jokes from the time of when I was trying to find the money, it sounds surreal, you know, even for them who grew up in Belgrade. But it was the way how we could make this film in that moment. The only good thing is that I realized very fast that I have to tell to potential sponsors in that time that this film is against Milosevic. So that's the history of financing of this film.
I think you said once, maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago when we first met, that this is kind of beton Western.
Yeah.
How do you define it? What is a beton Western? Did you live beton Western yourself before that?
You know, I think that when you make a film, you always have to know what genre is you making, not for the public, but for yourself. You have to know what is the essence of that film in a way of storytelling, it means genre, and in a way of style, what is much more important. But first, from that narrative side, you have to decide what is the main genre. And this film could be drama, could be thriller, and you have both elements in this film. But for me and my DOP, it was very important to define that it is Western. To have one character against the whole world in a context and a neighborhood which is very raw and, how to say, tough, like in the Western. And also to define some stylistic decisions which are connected with this space. For example, and to have one more thing which is very important, simplicity in a style and in a visual style. Maybe you saw in the film that we decided that the very important thing is in the film not to have a sky in the film at all, till the last scene when they play football on the top of the building, and to try all the time when we had dialogue scenes between brothers or other characters, always to have concrete above the characters and never to see the sky till the end, and that was the concept. And also we tried to make that something from Western, but narrative thing transformed to visual, to have compositions which are 2D compositions, never to have third, fourth, fifth plan, to have one simplification of everything, and to be focused on the main story and the main character. Western is interesting genre because Western has simplification first of the relations. They are archetypes mostly, And then from the stylistic side, like in John Ford films, you have to be very precise in a way, choosing very wide shots and mostly close-ups. You remember film of Radu Žude, Aferim, and how he made real Western. Okay, it's another time of that film. But yeah, that's how it was important for me. I think that, and then I think it's not important for audience, but it was important for me. And because I grew up in this neighborhood, I found the name of this genre like Beton Western or concrete Western.
Mm-hmm. So you said these simplification of relations. So it feels, but not only for Absolute 100, that all they are male characters, they withdraw their passion. So they are always trying not to show what's going on really. I mean, we feel it as a viewers. How about that? It's the creation of tension.
Yes, I think that it is connected. With the fact that in our culture, in whole Balkan, a man can't show his emotions, and man can't show what he feels, and it is connected with the thing what man in audience said yesterday, that most of my films are not about violence who is making suffering, but about people who are suffering, producing violence. Because they are hiding things, and because they are afraid to show their emotions. And in the most of the cases, they are close to explode. But not exploding, but imploding. And my films are about people who are imploding. And also, in a Balkan, in a Serbian tradition, is that people are, screaming and like in some films. But I said, okay, I want to make something different about people who are trying to be introvert and to put everything, not to give themselves to have it out. So that's it.
Yeah. So you chose Žika Todorović and Vuk Kostić based on what then?
Žika, let's start from older brother, Žika Todorović. He was a symbol of 80s and one of the most famous actors in Serbia. But for my generation, more than that, famous musician, drummer.
The last drummer.
Yeah. And the first drummer of Disciplina Kičme, and then the last drummer of Ekaterina Velika. And very important, very important person for that time. And for me, it was very important to have him in the film. Because he was a symbol of that time, and he was a symbol of the time which is disappearing. And he did not want to play in the film. And several times he told me, no, I don't want to play in this film. And
Why?
Then I discovered why. He was afraid of that scene, last scene when he is killing himself. And that's why he absolutely didn't want to play. And then I explained him that because of the many things and the things I said now, it's important for me. And for Vuk, I made a casting like I always do. And when Vuk came, and I knew that he is that guy. And I felt that he looks like he's non-actor. And that he has energy of someone who is totally amateur, someone whom you saw the film and you saw those buildings, that I picked him in some of the buildings. And we talked about about truth in the film, and I felt that about him. And also for his friend, this guy who is half a Serbian, half a Algerian exchange in New Belgrade, I had a better actor to play this role. I had an actor who was, better. But at the end I realized that two of them, Vuk and him, they look like a guys from the hood. And that visual part is always very important. Not the most important, but important.
Mm-hmm. So talking about visuals, how did you work? I love cinematography in absolutely 100. How did you do what you did with the camera and with DOP?
DOP.
It was your debut film.
Yeah, DOP is one of the best friends, and I work with him from the faculty, and we worked together all the music videos I did, and we talked a lot about this film, and we decided to be brave. And for example, we took some old camera. It was 35. Very old camera. In that time, it was normal to shoot on 35. We could buy Kodak, Fuji, or Agfa film stock. And we decided to buy the cheapest one, Agfa. And we realized that it means that we will have the biggest You saw that the picture is, grain, yeah. And then we decided to make some things. In that time we were influenced by music videos, by the films from that time. Very important film in that time for us was Matthew Kassowitz's Hate, the film which is also in some suburb of Paris. This in Belgrade it's New Belgrade. I can't say it's a suburb, but it's far from the center. And we decided, because it's our first film, we have to do something completely different than Serbian films in that time. To be very visual, to be very rough, and important things to have acting different, because in that time, under the influence of Kusturica, all the actors in all Serbian films was playing, what we say, for all the money they got. And I decided to make something completely different, to have British style of acting. Very reduced, with very few words, and completely different. So when you make your film, first film, you have to fight very hardly with the scene in your own country, which is in that moment. So when I see now my students doing films which are against my films, I'm happy, because I think it's very important. Every new generation has to have idea to destroy generation before them.
Because you were also yourself mostly influenced by black wave, crni talas. So, but I see some traces very much in Absolute 100.
I don't know. I was very influenced by Yugoslav black wave, and for me it was very important. For example, I was very lucky that Živojin Pavlović was my professor, one of the most important directors of black wave, and he was not professor of film directing. He was professor of script writing, what was great. And also Gordan Mihić, who wrote the scripts for many films of black wave and Kusturica's films. So I was very influenced by Makavejev, very much. But in the 90s in Serbia, we a little bit forgot those things because the time was dark enough. And I think that that influence, if you see in Absolute 100, comes from the time when I was sitting in Cinematheque every day and watching films, and coming again from some unconscious thoughts.
So you, before watching at the end of the first part of a masterclass, you said, okay, you will watch Absolutni 100, and then we will talk how the world changed from that time on. Because you're receiving tonight this award of Darko Bratina, he believed that the film can change the world. It can? I mean,
I think that...
And you remember last night what we said? You said that you recently watched They Shoot Horses, Don't They? And how still is very contemporary.
That's true. I would not make a film if I don't believe that film can change the world. I think that the influence of art is not that strong as it was in the 60s and 70s. And when we talk about French New Wave, we talk about one movement which really changed the world. And today, I think it's impossible to have something like that. Everything is different. But I still think that art can change the world. And I think it's very important. And that's why we are making films with the subjects which are connected with the societies. And we are not in the dystopic subjects. We are doing something what is down on earth very much, because we believe that we can change things. And yesterday we talked about one great film, Sidney Pollack. They
shoot horses, don't they?
They shoot horses. It's interesting how this film is actual today, and how it's more than 30 years, maybe 40, from the moment when it was shot. How this film is dealing with the subjects, with the same subjects which are important today. And I screened that film to my students because I heard that Emir Kusturica made a masterclass analyzing this film and analyzing how the world did not change in the last 40 years, and how now liberal capitalism has the same rules like the system in the 70s and 60s.
Okay, but what happened when the film came out in 2002? One, right? How was it received in Serbia and outside? You went to Toronto, to all these festivals, won awards. But what happened at home, firstly?
It was very interesting because when you have a new energy and when you are young and doing your first film and you're doing something what is really important for your society, you can't be sure that it is important. But if you are doing from some personal reasons, it really happens. And the film was extremely successful. Film had around 200,000 visitors in Serbia. And in that time, people went to cinema a lot. But anyway, it was a lot. From today's perspective, it is something crazy, 200,000 people. And mostly young generation, because the film was made for them. And for me, in Serbia, that was the biggest success of that film, that the audience whom this film was addressed reacted really, really good on the film.
Is there any question? You're free to ask. What about outside? So you had to go, I don't know, to Canada and to explain what is, because at that time also we had to explain what is happening to our country, I mean to our ex-country. And you show it also with the film. How was there and on the other festivals?
Yeah, film was successful. It was screened in Toronto and San Sebastian, and it was very close to enter Horizonte in Venice, and also before that Kenzen in Cannes, Kenzen the réalisateur. But interesting thing is that, and for my perspective, from today's perspective, the biggest success of that film is that someone picked this film, Toronto, San Sebastian, some big festivals, because it's interesting for you as a young filmmakers. In that moment, I really knew nobody in the film business. And today, having a film on a big festival without any connections, it's very, very complicated and very tough. And for me, it was the biggest success because this film opened me a chance to make next film, Klopka, which was already co-production between few countries. And that's why one more thing which is important with the first film. First film can open you some doors to make your films more easy.
So is it true, Srdan, that you went to Cannes and or you with coffee?
Yeah. I came to Cannes, and a guy from Serbian Film Institute. I was sleeping on the floor in his apartment, and I had only 10 VHS cassettes. And I went with him from stand to stand. I gave VHS to Venice, and then we met. In that time was first mandate of Alberto Barbera in Venice, and we met him on some stairs, electronic stairs, and I met him. I didn't know him, and then San Sebastian and Toronto, and it was strange. I had only 10 tapes, and that's it. And it's interesting that after 2 weeks we got invitations from Toronto and San Sebastian, and then we had a call from Venice, and I was surprised. But you know, when you are doing things like that in a crazy way, something has to happen. I think that because I was completely innocent in that business, and I absolutely didn't know how it works.
So going back to the story, and again, you mostly your male characters are males. So how well you must know, and you know it very well, male psychology. I mean, because now I think that you're going to put the protagonist in the next film is going to be female. So how well can you instruct an actor to do what they do?
Yeah. Yes, it's very important. You have to know what is your character. And I think that for the main characters, you have to put so many very private things in that character, because in that case, that's the space which is very safe for you. It's not easy, and it's not nice sometimes, but I think that you have to do it. And I think one of my professors told me once that when you make a film, you have to be prepared that you have to be completely naked, and then everybody will see you naked. And I absolutely agree. And I think that it is the most important thing in a filmmaking. Also, important thing about work with actors, I always have 2 to 3 months preparations every day, rehearsals. It means that I sit with the actors, talking. First, we are talking about the script, about the idea of the film, and then we talk about his or her character. we are analyzing script and the characters and relations, and then in the last part of this work, we are working on dialogue, mostly cutting dialogues. But for me and for the actors, it's important to know each other. We need that time to know each other, and to have
trust.
And to have trust. What is the most important thing? And then for the director, the most important thing after that is to believe to his actors, and then to realize that they can't make a thing the way you think, but they have to make it the same thing, but on their way. And you have to be open that they can't play like you imagine. They have to play something what is deeply from their soul, body, and thoughts. And it has to be on the same side or the same like your thoughts. Because it's always problem when the actors, when the directors are pushing actors to play exactly how they dreamed and imagined that. It's wrong, because they have to find their own way. Because if they are not doing like that, it is not personal, and it is not emotional. It is not, how to say, we are not believing. So as a director, you have to know that, and to give them a space to make it. And you have to be open. That's what I told you before, that director has to be open to listen and to react when actor is doing on set something what is better than everything we talked about for 3 months. Keep it. Keep it, because that's the moment when you create your film. That's why when we talk about parts of the process of filmmaking, I really like the most. I like the most shooting, because that's the moment when you have to do everything, and to make some decisions, and to feel your film, and to meet your film.
Did you have to take any hard decision during filming? I mean, did you do any big compromise?
Never. I'm not doing compromises at all. I'm doing compromises in pre-production, and when we talk what is realistic to make or not. But when we make a plan, and when we say, okay, we have enough money for that these days of shooting, then I think that it's not good to make any compromise which is changing film to us. You can make some compromise which is not important, but any compromise which is changing, how to say, the spirit of that film, I never do it.
So we have great acting in Absolutništvo. We have like legend Bogdan Diklić, then we have Isaković, the hero from my generation, Žika Todorović, and we have Vuk Kostić. How differently did you work with them?
Yeah, I think that the only problem I had, it was in the beginning. I had with the actor, very experienced actors of middle generation, who learned in that time to play in a different way. I explained them what I want and what type of acting I want. And I think that in the film, the most important thing is to have all actors playing the same, how to say, style of acting. It is like an orchestra, like symphonic orchestra. You have to have 40 people, or in smaller orchestra, it is the same. But they have to play the same music. if you have one musician who is playing something different, the thing is going down. So I had a problem with older, in that time, mid-generation actors, and I was reshooting some things with the guy who is the owner of Streljana. With Vuk, it was easy. With the main character, it was easy because it was his first role, and he was like non-actor. It was his view to life. It was his story, and I felt that he is not playing at all. That he is just walking through the shots. And when I saw it on the shooting, I said, "Okay, that's it. That's truth of this film. That this guy looks like non-actor." And in Thessaloniki on the festival, he won the main prize for the best actor, and everybody thought that he is non-actor. And I said to him, and he was a little bit disappointed. I said, "No, that's the best compliment for you."
So it's easy to say I stick to with the same actors, and you do, and it's easy to say they became my family, but maybe there is something more. So why do you have the same actors? Through maybe Diklić, it was twice, Nebojša, Vuk also twice, Isaković always.
Yeah, I like to have. I like to make combination. I like to have because I always want to work with the actors for whom I think that they are the best actors in my country, and I love clever actors. You have directors who like to work with the actors which are not thinking too much and who are not clever. I like clever actors, and I like to discuss with them, and I like to share thoughts with them, and for me it's very important. I like actors who can bring me more than I expected. And in that process, I like to have the actors whom I believe, and I always like to have someone new, at least one or two actors with whom I never worked before. Because of two reasons: to have something new, some new experience, and not to stay completely in a comfort zone. To have someone with whom I have to pass through the whole process I passed with other actors. So, like in Circles, I had Alexander Berček, the old guy, and everybody told me that he's the toughest guy for work, and that he's sometimes very rude, and that he's problematic, very conservative, right-winged guy, and he's the man with whom I had the best collaboration ever, and easiest, absolutely easiest. He was very. He never had 2 months of rehearsals. Okay, he was not coming every day, but he had at least 20 days of rehearsals. And he thought at the beginning that it's a bullshit. And after 15 days, he told me, it's not bad. He is like my characters, not talking much. He wanted to tell me how much he loved that process, and he said, it's not bad. And it was funny on the shooting. We were doing some of the scenes in first few days, and I can't remember clearly, but it was something strange. He's very clever, he's a great actor, and I told him something, but he was doing something opposite. And I told him again, and he was doing opposite. And maybe 3-4 times he did it. And then he did it good. And after 10 days of shooting, he told me, okay, do you remember? I was testing you. You told me something and I did opposite. And you told me, no, it's not good. Do it like this. And I did again, opposite but in a different way. And you said again, okay, it's not good, do it like I told you. And I was testing you, and then I realized that you know what you are doing. I said, thank you. You know, it's very strange way to have poverenje, to have trust.
Trust again. Any questions? Yes.
Okay, I have just one more question back to technicals. So here is many students who probably would love also to hear some comment on the shooting of your first film, like in 2020. So can you give us maybe some insights? How did you make some interesting shots? Maybe which shots are, you know, like the most close to you, and why did you choose like this kind of perspective? You know, this film is like brilliant in so that you can actually see so many point of views and so many like drifts, and it's really so it's many of those techniques. So maybe if you can share some of these thoughts.
Yeah, if you remember some shot, please tell me. But for example, this shot, which is the shot which is POV, like POV of the spit of the character. You remember this shot? And yeah, we made a construction, and we took some very, very old camera, and we got some alpinists and big rope, and we really put camera, and everything was okay with camera. We did few takes, but it was something, you know. Both of us, director of photography and me, were very young, and we said, okay, let's try to do some strange things, and the alpinists told us, okay, it will work. We think it will work, and camera will not be broken. We said, okay, if it was some really camera which nobody was using anymore, and we did it. And also, interesting thing at the end of the film, when he's trying to kill the last guy and he did not succeed, and then when he starts to run, all that scene we shot with lenses of 600. You saw it's very, very teleobjective. And we tried to make some experiments. You know, it is 600 extended to 1,200, and that's why there is so blurry. We tried to make many technical things, which it's good with experience, which we did. Some of them we did in music videos, because in music video you can do whatever you want. You can put whatever you want. And for me it was very important to make my style free. And for example, the only thing which is not successful completely is that shot from the night to the morning in one shot. Yeah, we were sitting like in Ziga Vertov and shooting every, I think, 20 seconds, one frame, and that's it. You know?
Hello? Okay. I have a question about ending, because watching the film, I was really, really immersed in the story, in the situation, the characters, and his life. And I was wondering if you had any troubles to end stories like this, because it is like slice of life, and when do you cut this slice, you know? And yeah, what's what was your like relationship to the ending, and in at what point in the process it came to you, the image or the idea of ending?
Yes, I can't remember precisely, but from the beginning, for me, the most important thing in the narrative was that the brother, older brother, whose life is completely ruined, he is taking responsibility on himself because he believes that young brother has a hope in his life. And that was the only important thing in this ending. And I wanted to say, okay, this guy made horrible things. He killed 2 people and injured 1 more person. And I can't say I'm pro that, and but in other hand, because he was suffering a lot, he has a right for a new chance. And playing football at the end is, for me, some new freedom for him. He lost his brother, he lost his girlfriend, he lost almost all close people, because his friend is a friend, and you can see in the film that their relation is not some deep relation. But at the end, he survived, and he has a new chance. And that championship at the end is his new chance. And in that last scene, it's not important if he will win on this champion or lose and be the last. Who cares? The only important thing is that he has a new life.
He loses the ball. He loses the ball.
Yeah, he loses the ball, yeah.
No, it's okay.
Maybe, Srdan, if we can go back to his question, I would like to continue a little bit with editing. So we see a very, it was edited like in very, like MTV spots, we can say a little bit. Because they lived like this quickly, because they had to make these quick decisions. We will see tonight in Otac a much slower editing. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes, because I was under the influence of music videos, and some of the scenes we were editing on music. And that's something what now I'm telling to my students, that it's not good way to work. But sometimes you're doing things which are not good theoretically, but in real life, sometimes it happens that you have to do it. I was very influenced by music videos, and also that very fast rhythm and furious and crazy and aggressive. That was something what is connected with the 90s in Serbia. And the whole music scene, which was connected with the Milosevic time, that turbo folk, maybe you heard about that, was a very, very, very aggressive noise, sound and noise, more noise. And it was connected with that time. And for the last film, for Otac, you will see it's without music, it's only long shots and a lot of small sounds. I don't know what to tell you. I think that always the story and the characters that he brings, he or her or story brings the how to say, rhythmical and construction of the film. And also there is another thing. I think that one friend of mine said once one very interesting thing, that if the director is doing films from his heart, that every film is his image in that part of his life. So I was changing myself, and I was 28 in that moment. Now I'm 48, and my steps are more slow.
Also, your main characters, I think they have the same age as you. Well, Otac is a little bit younger now,
Yeah.
but is this on purpose or just?
I think that, Otac is younger, but at the beginning it was written for someone who is my age. It's not
On purpose.
it's not on purpose, but I think it's, it's normal, because you always try to make films about the characters whom you know, especially if the character is not from your world. For Otac, it was the most complicated for me, because I grew up in Belgrade. My parents were intellectuals, and I was never part of some. I never lived in poverty, and I don't know people who live in that kind of poverty. So it was not easy for me. It was the hardest for me to make this character, and for me, and also to Goran Bogdan. And in that case, you have to find something what is, place of identification among you and your character. Because if you don't have that, you don't have anything to catch for how to catch yourself for that character. So I think it's natural, and for many actors, for many directors, how they becoming older, they are changing the age of their characters. It's normal.
So, is there any question? What was most significant for you to get away from your father style of filmmaking, or to going away from what your teacher taught you, or to see now, after fourth film, how technology also changed in making films? I mean, what was the most crucial eye-opening for you in these 20 years concerning these things I just said?
I don't know. I think that I was trying to make my own space as an author, and to make space for the stories which are important for me. In that case, it was important for me to run out from the influence of my father, who was doing really great short films mostly, and he had also 6 feature films. But I think that everything what he did with the short films is amazing, with his 4 short films. But interesting things that with this film, with Otac, I was all my career escaping from the influence of my father, and with Otac I came back to his influence, and irrationally, without any decision. But I think that I got my fight, and now I can be close to his influence. The same is with the professors, and with the Black Wave, Yugoslav Black Wave, which was very important for me. I felt that it's not the best way to make films which are too close and which are similar to something what I like the most, and that I have to make my own way. And about technology, I don't know. I think that technology is not much important for me, and I think that pure film language is important. For example, what maybe you can see in my films, when we talk about film language, I was very much under influence of Krzysztof Kieślowski, more than other directors. Not about subjects, not about in general about his films, but about the way how he was filming scenes, and about the visual style, and about some simplicity of film language, and simplicity of cinematic way of camera movements and everything what he was doing, and sound and everything what he was doing in his film. When I saw his first film, I saw in that time short film about killing and then short film about love. I felt that that's something in a cinematic way what is probably the closest to my impression of cinema.
Your films are very authentic and very cinematic also. So, do you know what kind of glue do you need for that? Glue, lepilo. Kako zalepiš to dvoje zajedno?
Yeah, I think that it's good question, good word, glue. How you find this glue? It's like I think it's like when you make a house. You have to start from the beginning, and you have to make
The base.
yeah, base good, and then you have to start with the first basement, and then first floor, and etc.
Temeljna ploča.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you have to be very precise at the beginning when you make your characters and when you make the story. And okay, of course, from the beginning you have to think about facade and how it will look from the outside and from the inside. But first you have to make a basic. I think it is the same with the filmmaking. First thing is a script. Characters, first story, characters, and then script. And together with those three things, a very important thing is what you personally, what me, not you or you, want to say with this film. That's the base. And then you start to think about visual style and about some other things, and to build your film slowly and precisely and in a good way. I think that's the glue. And if you think, okay, I don't need to have strong characters, but my filmmaking will be something special and different and new. I don't believe in that idea. Even if you have directors who are doing without script, but it's some other process, but they know very well why they are doing these films, like Želimir Žilnik. And they have extremely precise idea what the film is about. And the process, how they work, is they're searching for that film all the time. But they know what they want and they know what they don't want. And it is specific, but in some way similar.
Any questions? What you said now, what you just said was that you have to know what do you want to say with your film. We are talking maybe about ethics now. So, has ethics any limits in your film? I don't want to talk about moral, but ethics. Where do you put the tačka, the point at the end of the sentence when talking about ethics?
Yeah, I think that ethics is important because all my films are connected with the, how to say, moral values or decisions, and I'm trying to how to say, to be, I don't know, to make world of the characters who have some ethical values or moral values. It's interesting for me. And to push them in the position that they have to do something what is not ethical. And to force them to do it and to see how they will react. Because I like to make films about good people and to push them in the situation that they have to do something what is not good. It is like you have with Sartre who said, okay, we are not, no one of us is good or bad. Every next thing we do in our life makes us good or bad. And that's some philosophy of my films.
Any question? So we are now starting to end the conversation about your first film. But let's talk a little bit about future. Future in this time we are living in. So you are thinking about already writing, maybe the script is going to be about what? And how do you see making films in the near future with all this COVID-19 situation? I mean...
Yes, I'm trying to do something new, and I said yesterday, and for the first time, I'm trying to do a script in which female character is the main character, and because everything has to be, it's again based on a true story. Maybe it's interesting to say a few words about that later, because I made 2 films which are based on a true story. And this film I'm writing now is based on a true story, but connected with my personal relation with my mother. It's totally some story from the newspapers, but I found a reason to make it to, to rediscover my relation with my mother and to find some support and love from my personal life and relation with my mother in that story which I'm trying to make. And about COVID-19, I don't know. Like no one of us know what will happen and how our life will be in 10 days and not in 6 months. I hope that we will continue making films. And what is the future of cinema in this time? Because as you all know, that theaters are in most of the countries in the world are closing, and especially I think after this pandemic, that everything is faster in that process. But I believe that film will survive and that we will not have only platforms and TV series on the platforms. I think that film is an art, very important, and I think that the festivals like this festival will become more important to save idea of film. I think that that's very, very important. And yeah, what will happen with the COVID, nobody knows. But I think that we survived so many things. So I hope that we will survive this catastrophe also.
Yes, but I was thinking about how complex is filmmaking. Maybe it just came to my mind. Would you be able, because now the animation films are stepping forward again in this situation, would you be able to do animation? I mean, to tell the story with...
No, to be honest. But, it's my very personal... I like to work with people. Maybe we will make films with a much smaller crews, probably. And maybe it can produce something good. To be more free, to have more time, to make some experiments, to push ourselves in a position to search for the film during the process. Maybe it's not bad. Maybe it's not bad. I always try to find something good in a big bad things. And maybe it's not bad. Also, I'm not someone who is in the moment much interested in making TV series. I like some of them. Probably I will do something next year, but I'm focused on film, and I really believe that I watched series, and some of them I like very much, but no one of the TV series did not change my life. And I have many films which changed my life, like many books which changed my life.
Can you name some?
Films.
Možeš, da, i filmove.
I told you about Kieślowski. I was very young when I saw Miloš Forman fly over. Yeah. Yeah, that's the film which was very important for me. Kurosawa was important for me, Rashomon and Kagemusha. In the last 10 years, Nuri Ceylan with few of his films, which I like a lot. Of course, Tarkovsky, it's, how to say, opšte mesto. Yeah. Also, the film which changed me a lot is Come and See, Elem Klimov, war film from the 80s. I don't know. I was always trying to pick things from very different films.
I will go with the question later about the serial you are about to make. Is it connected with the film we just saw?
Yeah. Yes, there. We are thinking, and we started to write TV series which is connected with Absolute 100. And probably it will be TV series Absolute 120 years later. Yeah. And it will be contemporary. And it was not my idea. One script writer, Ivan Knežević, he called me and told me that idea, and I said, okay, great. Because in that time, in the 90s, we knew who is our enemy. It was Milošević and his regime. And today, enemy is invisible, you know. That's neoliberal capitalism, and you don't know where enemy comes from. So time is really interesting, and that's the way how we will make this TV series.
Any question? Okay.
Sorry, I don't know if I missed something, but
You missed a lot.
yeah, a lot, of course. No, just that I don't know if you ever made documentary films. I'm sorry, I don't know that.
Yeah, no, I never made, only in the faculty, because like I said, after the faculty, there was no any fund in Serbia, and it was very rare to make documentaries and short films also. And after 2000, after I made a first feature film, then I was focused on feature films. But now I have some idea to make one documentary. I'm afraid of that very much because it's not my field, and maybe that's why I want to make it now, to try to do something different. Because maybe I'm afraid also because in my films I'm controlling things very much, and documentary is opposite to that, not having control.
But in a way, you are basing your films on true events, and in a way, this is like a ultimate version of documentary, because you're actually talking about something that really happened, and this is very interesting. How is it? I think it's very important for you that it's written that this is a true event or not.
Depends. I made 2 films based on true events, and how it started. I had a professor, Gordan Mihić, of script writing, and he told us that he is doing all his films. He did with Kusturica, Paskaljević, Živojin Pavlović. That all the scripts he is doing are based on the in that time newspapers.
in the
article, yeah. But what is interesting with the films based on real events? On Circles, it was written because it was very important. In Otac is inspired by true event, and we didn't write it because we changed things really a lot. And also, I didn't want to manipulate with that fact. In Circles, it was important because it's important event which happened in 1993. And in Otac, I felt that if I write it on the end, that it is okay, like you put sugar on the cake. That it's kind of manipulation. Yeah, and when you make a films based on a true event, when you make a feature films, I think it's important that you just keep the provocation, the story, the characters. And then you can't make a film which is completely about that character and his story. Why? Because life is always more interesting than film, and life has some specific logic. So I'm trying with the stories, with the true stories, to start from that story and to make a film about something else. To have just provocation, to have some base of the story and dramaturgical provocation, but not to continue what mostly people are doing in documentaries, to work on that subject. I think that, why? Because you have true and real true from real life. But in that process, from that real true and real life, you have to find your own poetic true. And that's the point. So for me, I think that that's the way how to transform stories from real life to feature films.
Any other questions? Maybe just the last few thoughts. We want to hear from you, like anything you want, maybe for future filmmakers or aspiring people who want to work in the film industry.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're a professor.
Maybe, yes. I think that for the first film, it's always good to go back to the place where you grew up, what I already said. And also to be brave to make your own world without compromises in a way that somebody can tell you, okay, the way you want to make this film is too radical and, I don't know, different. I think that making something different and authentic, that's the point. Because today there is so many films all around the world. I heard when Kusturica said that when he had father on a business trip, that 600 films applied for Cannes. And last year, not this COVID year, but last year, 8,000 films applied for Cannes Film Festival. So you have to make something what is authentic, what is yours, and what is different, because there is so many films, and that's the way that you can be visible on this map. So yeah, you have to believe in your vision of the film, and you know how we say, if you believe and doing everything what you can do passionately for your film, then you can break your head on this wall, or you can pass through the wall. So always believe that you will pass through the wall.
Thank you, Srdan, for this great masterclass and the last word. Thank you for coming. And you are all invited to Otac if there is still any, no, but maybe go to Ljubljana, and Otac will be on Leaf Festival, and then also into the regular distribution. Thank you again, and see you tonight.
Thank you very much.